Some deaths are straightforward. Others leave behind more questions than answers. Today, we're examining 3 famous deaths that have sparked conspiracy theories for decades. These cases involve inconsistencies, suspicious circumstances, and evidence that doesn't quite add up. We're not here to prove or disprove anything. We're simply presenting the facts and the questions that continue to haunt investigators, journalists, and the public. Let's dive into these mysterious cases that refuse to be closed. On August 5, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her Brentwood home at the age of 36. Official cause of death was ruled as probable suicide by barbiturate overdose. But from the moment her death was announced, questions began emerging that have never been satisfactorily answered. Let's start with the official story. Monroe was found lying face down on her bed, nude, with an empty bottle of sleeping pills nearby. The police were called at 4:25 a.m., though her housekeeper claimed to have discovered her around midnight. That's already a significant time gap that has never been explained. Here's where things get interesting. The toxicology report showed lethal levels of barbiturates in her blood. But here's the problem. There were no pills found in her stomach or digestive system. Medical experts have questioned how she could have ingested such a massive dose without leaving any residue. Some have suggested the drugs were administered through other means. The autopsy also noted no drinking glass in the bedroom, which raises questions about how she swallowed all those pills. Her housekeeper later changed her story multiple times about the events of that night, adding to the confusion. Now let's talk about the conspiracy theories. Monroe had close connections to President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy, who was Attorney General at the time. Phone records showed she had called the Justice Department the day before her death. Some witnesses claimed Robert Kennedy was in Los Angeles that day, despite official accounts placing him in Northern California. One theory suggests Monroe was silenced because she knew too much about the Kennedy administration's secrets. She allegedly kept a diary containing sensitive information about conversations with the president. This diary mysteriously disappeared after her death and has never been found. Another suspicious element, the Los Angeles Police Department's files on Monroe's death were later discovered to be missing critical pages. The original police report and investigation notes have gaps that have fueled speculation for decades. FBI documents released years later revealed that the Bureau had been monitoring Monroe's activities and associations. The question is, why would the FBI be watching a movie star so closely? Several people who were close to the investigation or had information about that night have come forward over the years with conflicting accounts. Some claimed evidence was removed from the scene. Others suggested the timeline was deliberately confused. Whether Monroe's death was truly a suicide, an accidental overdose, or something more sinister remains one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. The inconsistencies in the official record ensure this case will continue to be debated for generations. On November 29, 1981, beloved actress Natalie Wood drowned off the coast of Catalina Island in California. She was 43 years old and at the height of her fame. What should have been a relaxing weekend on a yacht turned into a tragedy that has puzzled investigators for over 4 decades. The official story is that Wood accidentally slipped and fell into the water while trying to secure a dinghy that was banging against the yacht. She was found floating in the ocean the next morning, wearing a nightgown, socks, and a down jacket. But there are serious problems with this narrative. First, Natalie Wood had a well-known, lifelong fear of water. Her friends and family confirmed she was terrified of dark water and would never willingly go near the edge of a boat at night, let alone attempt to secure a dinghy in the dark. The captain of the yacht, Dennis Davern, initially supported the accidental drowning theory. However, decades later, he changed his account dramatically. He claimed there had been a heated argument between Wood and her husband, actor Robert Wagner, that night. He said he heard shouting and crashing sounds coming from their cabin. Davern stated that after the argument, he noticed Wood was missing, but Wagner delayed calling for help, saying she was probably off teaching us a lesson. By the time they searched for her, precious hours had been lost. The autopsy revealed bruising on Wood's body, including fresh bruises on her arms, legs, and a facial abrasion. The coroner initially ruled these consistent with someone trying to climb back onto a dinghy, but forensic experts who later reviewed the case suggested the bruising pattern was more consistent with an assault occurring before she entered the water. In 2011, authorities reopened the investigation. The case was changed from accidental drowning to drowning and other undetermined factors. In 2018, Robert Wagner was named as a person of interest in the case, though he has never been charged and has denied any wrongdoing. Witnesses on nearby boats reported hearing a woman's voice calling for help that night, but no one investigated at the time. One witness said they heard someone say, "Take me back," and crying sounds from the direction of the yacht. The location where Wood's body was found also raises questions. She was discovered about a mile away from the yacht, but the dinghy was found much closer, beached on the island. How did she end up so far from the boat if she fell while securing the dinghy? Christopher Walken, who was also on the yacht that weekend, has remained largely silent about the events of that night. He gave an initial statement to police, but has rarely spoken about it publicly since. The case remains officially open. New witnesses have come forward over the years, but the truth about what happened on that yacht may never be fully known. The combination of celebrity, conflicting testimonies, and physical evidence that doesn't match the official story keeps this case firmly in the realm of unsolved mysteries. On April 8, 1994, the body of Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain was discovered in his Seattle home. The official ruling was suicide by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was 27 years old. While many accepted this conclusion, others immediately began questioning whether the evidence truly supported suicide. Let's examine the official account. Cobain was found with a shotgun, a suicide note nearby, and high levels of heroin in his system. The medical examiner ruled it a clear case of suicide. But private investigators, journalists, and forensic experts who have studied the case have pointed out numerous inconsistencies. First, the toxicology report. Cobain had approximately 3 times the lethal dose of heroin in his system at the time of death. Medical experts have questioned whether someone with that amount of heroin in their blood would have the physical coordination and consciousness necessary to handle a shotgun, let alone pull the trigger. Most people would be incapacitated or already in a coma at that concentration level. The suicide note is another controversial element. The majority of the note reads more like a retirement letter to fans, discussing his loss of passion for music. Only the final few lines reference death, and handwriting analysts have noted these lines appeared different from the rest of the note, raising questions about whether they were added later. There were no legible fingerprints found on the shotgun, the pen used to write the note, or the box of shotgun shells. This is highly unusual. Even if someone was wearing gloves, you would typically expect to find at least partial prints from when the gun was purchased or previously handled. The shotgun shell found at the scene was missing. This is crucial physical evidence that mysteriously disappeared from the police evidence room and has never been recovered. This missing evidence has prevented independent forensic analysis. Tom Grant, a private investigator hired by Cobain's wife Courtney Love to to find Kurt when he was missing, later became convinced it wasn't suicide. He pointed out several suspicious elements. The amount of heroin that would have made operating a shotgun nearly impossible, the credit card activity on Kurt's card after he was supposedly dead, and inconsistencies in witness statements. The greenhouse where Cobain was found was barricaded from the inside, but the door could be locked from outside as well. Some have questioned how someone intent on suicide would go to such lengths to barricade themselves in. There was also the issue of the Seattle Police Department's handling of the case. Critics claimed the investigation was rushed and that alternative scenarios weren't properly explored. The case was quickly closed as a suicide without thoroughly investigating other possibilities. Several people close to Cobain have suggested he was planning to divorce Courtney Love and may have been changing his will. Financial motives have been suggested by conspiracy theorists, though no evidence has proven any foul play. The Seattle police reviewed the case in 2014, releasing previously unseen photos but maintaining their suicide ruling. However, they acknowledged that not all questions had satisfactory answers. Whether you believe it was suicide or something more sinister, the Cobain case represents one of the most debated celebrity deaths in modern history. The inconsistencies in the evidence ensure this case will remain controversial. On September 7, 1996, rapper Tupac Shakur was shot multiple times in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. He died 6 days later at age 25. Despite being one of the most high-profile murders in music history, the case remains officially unsolved, with no one ever convicted for his death. The basic facts are these. Tupac was riding in a car driven by Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight when a white Cadillac pulled up alongside them at a red light. Someone opened fire, hitting Tupac 4 times. Knight was grazed by bullet fragments but survived. Tupac died from his injuries on September 13th. Here's where it gets complicated. Despite the shooting happening on a busy Las Vegas street after a Mike Tyson boxing match, with hundreds of potential witnesses, no one came forward with useful information. The white Cadillac was never found. No murder weapon was recovered. No arrests were made. The timing is significant. Tupac had just been involved in a physical altercation with gang member Orlando Anderson at the MGM Grand, captured on casino security cameras. Many initially suspected Anderson, who had connections to the Southside Crips, but he denied involvement and was killed in an unrelated shooting 2 years later. The East Coast-West Coast hip-hop rivalry was at its peak. Tupac had very public feuds with East Coast rappers, particularly the notorious B.I.G. 6 months after Tupac's death. Biggie was also killed in a similar drive-by shooting in Los Angeles. That case also remains officially unsolved. Conspiracy theories abound. Some believe corrupt police officers were involved. Former LAPD detective Russell Poole spent years investigating potential police involvement in both murders, claiming officers working for Death Row Records may have been involved. Others point to gang connections. Death Row Records had well-documented ties to the Bloods gang, while Bad Boy Records was allegedly connected to the Crips. Some view both murders as gang hits related to this rivalry. There's also the Tupac is alive theory, one of the most persistent conspiracy theories in pop culture. Believers point to supposed inconsistencies in his autopsy report, alleged sightings of Tupac after his death, and cryptic messages in his posthumously released music. While this theory has been thoroughly debunked, it shows the enduring mystery around his death. In 2018, new information emerged suggesting the shooting was retaliation for the MGM Grand assault. However, with key suspects and witnesses dead, the truth may never be fully established. The Las Vegas Police Department has maintained they know who killed Tupac, but lack the evidence for a conviction. They've cited the no-snitching culture in the hip-hop community as a major obstacle. What makes this case particularly frustrating is that it happened in public, in a major city, with potential witnesses everywhere, yet somehow remains unsolved after nearly 3 decades. The combination of gang culture, industry rivalries, possible police corruption, and witness intimidation created a perfect storm that has kept this case cold. On August 31, 1997, the world was stunned by the news that Princess Diana had died in a car crash inside the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris. At just 36 years old, the people's princess was gone. Her companion Dodi Fade and their driver, Henry Paul, also perished in the wreck. The official investigation swiftly concluded that it was a tragic accident, the result of a drunk driver fleeing from aggressive paparazzi. But the circumstances surrounding her death have fueled one of the most persistent and widely debated conspiracy theories of our time. According to the official narrative, Henry Paul, the deputy head of security at the Ritz Paris, had been drinking and was driving at an excessive speed to escape the swarm of photographers on motorcycles. He lost control of the Mercedes S280 inside the tunnel, colliding with a concrete pillar. The devastating impact, combined with the fact that Diana and Dodi were not wearing seatbelts, led to their fatal injuries. A thorough investigation concluded it was an accident, a terrible but straightforward tragedy. However, many people have never accepted this version of events, most notably Dodi Fade's father, Mohammed Al-Fade. He has spent years and millions of pounds trying to prove that this was no accident. Let's delve into the details that have kept these questions alive for over 2 decades. First, let's look at the context leading up to that fateful night. Diana and Dodi's romance was the subject of intense media scrutiny. Their summer together was splashed across every tabloid, with rampant speculation that they were planning to get engaged. Theorists suggest that the idea of the mother of the future King of England marrying a Muslim man from an Egyptian family was deeply unsettling to powerful figures within the British establishment. This has become a cornerstone of the belief that her death was not an accident, but an orchestrated event. Mohammed Al-Fade has been the most vocal proponent of the murder theory, publicly accusing British intelligence services, specifically MI6, of orchestrating the crash on the orders of the royal family. He pointed to several elements he found suspicious. For instance, he alleged that the driver, Henry Paul, was not just a hotel security employee but an informant for both French and British intelligence agencies. He also highlighted witness reports of a bright flash of light in the tunnel just moments before the Mercedes crashed, suggesting it was a deliberate tactic to blind the driver. The medical response on the night of the crash has also come under intense scrutiny. Princess Diana survived the initial impact and was still alive when emergency services arrived on the scene. Yet, it took an astonishingly long time, nearly 2 hours, to transport her to the Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital, which was only about 4 miles away. Some emergency medicine experts have argued that the French treat at the scene protocol was inappropriate for her injuries, and that swifter transport to a surgical suite could potentially have saved her life. This delay remains a major point of contention for those who suspect foul play. Another mysterious element is the infamous white Fiat Uno. Traces of white paint were found on the crashed Mercedes, and accident investigators concluded that the car had made contact with a Fiat Uno just before the crash. This vehicle and its driver were never officially identified or located by the French investigation, despite extensive searches. Witnesses reported seeing the small car swerving and speeding away from the tunnel. The failure to find this key piece of the puzzle has only added fuel to the conspiracy fire. The claims of a bright flash inside the tunnel, possibly from a strobe light on a motorcycle, also persist. Some witnesses swore they saw a powerful flash just before the sound of the collision. The theory is that this was a weapon used to disorient Henry Paul and cause him to lose control. Investigators, however, have suggested that these flashes could have simply been the camera flashes from the pursuing paparazzi, a common occurrence during any of Diana's public outings. The French investigation into the crash lasted 3 years and ultimately confirmed the initial conclusion. It was an accident caused by a drunk driver speeding. Later, a massive British inquest called Operation Paget was launched. It lasted 6 months, cost millions, and heard testimony from 250 witnesses. Its final verdict in 2008 was that Diana and Fade were unlawfully killed, placing the blame on the grossly negligent driving of Henry Paul and the pursuing paparazzi vehicles. While not a murder verdict, the term unlawfully killed left room for interpretation. Even the evidence against Henry Paul has been challenged. Blood samples taken after his death showed a high level of alcohol, well over the legal limit, as well as prescription drugs. However, those close to Paul insisted he was not a heavy drinker. Experts hired by Mohammed Al-Fayed argued that the carbon monoxide levels in the blood samples were too high for a living person, suggesting the samples could have been contaminated or even switched. Official inquiries, however, have consistently rejected these claims. The issue of surveillance footage has also been a major point of controversy. Of the more than a dozen CCTV cameras in and around the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, several were reportedly not working the night of the crash. Conspiracy theorists find this highly suspicious, suggesting the cameras were deliberately disabled to hide the truth of what happened. Tunnel operators and officials have maintained that it was not unusual for some cameras in the system to be out of order for maintenance. Perhaps the most chilling piece of evidence for theorists is a letter Diana herself wrote in October 1996, just 10 months before her death. In it, she expressed fear for her life, writing, "I am sitting here at my desk today, in October, longing for someone to hug me and encourage me to keep strong and hold my head high. This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. Redacted is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injury in order to make the path clear for Charles to marry." This letter, which she gave to her butler Paul Burrell, is seen by many as proof that she knew a plot against her was in motion. Ultimately, multiple exhaustive official investigations in both France and Britain came to the same conclusion. Princess Diana's death was a tragic accident. The combination of a speeding, intoxicated driver and a relentless pursuit by paparazzi created a fatal storm. Yet, the story is not that simple for millions around the world. The blend of Diana's iconic status, her complicated relationship with the royal family, the various unexplained anomalies, and the deep public affection for her ensures that the questions will likely never fade away. Whether you believe it was a terrible, preventable accident or a meticulously planned assassination, the death of Princess Diana remains one of the most intensely scrutinized and emotionally charged events of the 20th century. So there we have it. 5 famous deaths that continue to generate questions, debates, and theories decades after they occurred. From Hollywood icons to music legends to royalty, these cases share common elements: inconsistent evidence, suspicious circumstances, and investigations that left more questions than answers. It's important to note that official investigations concluded on these cases, and we should respect those findings. However, It's also undeniable that each case contains elements that don't quite fit the official narrative. Whether these inconsistencies point to conspiracy or simply reflect the messy reality of tragic events is something each person must decide for themselves. These cases remind us that truth can be complicated. Sometimes the official story is correct, even when it's hard to accept. Other times, legitimate questions deserve legitimate answers. The persistence of these conspiracy theories often stems from genuine inconsistencies that were never fully explained. What do you think about these cases? Do you believe the official explanations, or do you think there's more to these stories? Have we missed any famous deaths that you think belong on this list? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you found this deep dive into these mysterious cases fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We explore unsolved mysteries, conspiracy theories, and historical enigmas that continue to puzzle us. Ring that notification bell so you never miss our next investigation into the unexplained. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, and sometimes the official story really is just the truth. The challenge is knowing which is which. Until next time, keep questioning, keep thinking critically, and keep exploring the mysteries that make history so fascinating.